welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, I mean, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
I'm Zach.
And
Brian, do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is?
Well, I don't think you're talking about the actual time.
No. It's Mummy Month.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Okay. I'm like,
Brian
you're going somewhere with this.
Has acquiesced to a request that I made about 8 months ago, and I'm fairly certain he's now regretting it because we're going to be treading a lot of familiar ground.
That's right.
And the fact that we are going to be watching through this month of October, the year of our Lord 2025, the Mummy movies. And when I say the Mummy movies, I mean a lot of Mummy movies.
Yeah.
And so, starting today with the OG, the original Mummy 1933.
Yeah, this is going back. Well, I think it was 32, actually, wasn't it? Or is it 33?
32, you're right.
It is 32.
I'm not smart.
Yeah. I know that there was like 3 or 4 or even 5 like sequels to this thing, or not sequels, but like spin-offs and other Mummy films made in the mid to late 30s, right? Even early 40s,
Well,
I think.
actually, there weren't as many as, say, Frankenstein and the Wolfman. This was actually among the least successful, which is kind of funny because it had a really good revival in 1999 where no other movie seems to be able to pull off those classic monster characters in the same way.
Because there hasn't been what's funny is at the time of recording this, I think it's just a week or two, right, is Del Toro's Mummy, not Mummy, Frankenstein movie. It's on Netflix, I think. And I think that's Oscar Isaacs playing Frankenstein, right?
Dr. Victor Frankenstein.
Yes. So, but other than that, I mean, there hasn't been a serious Frankenstein, and even everybody knows about the Brendan Fraser trilogy, which got worse and worse. Although, man, the '99 one, we're going to talk about that when we get to it. But just still has such a special place in my heart. And then the Tom Cruise led revival, which was supposed to launch a whole new multiverse, but the fact that the Mummy's what they went back to. And that Wolfman really hasn't gotten much, and Frankenstein has gotten very little.
Yeah, the last Frankenstein movie that I can really think of, like it was touched on in things like 2004's Van Helsing, in reaction to the 1999 Mummy. But the Wolfman has had 2 attempts in the last 15 years, with 2011's The Wolfman starring Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. Which actually wasn't terrible. It was just forgettable, and like the action wasn't good enough. Because it was just kind of a CG fest, but not even in like a really cool way. It was just kind of, okay, those are decently modeled wolf people hacking at each other with a little bit too much bendiness in their skeletons. But Benicio del Toro was perfect because I grew up with my mom referring to him as the Dogface Man.
Yeah, because the Wolfman is different than werewolves, right? That's a totally different thing. Because I know very little about the Wolfman.
Yes and no. That's a whole conversation. I'll leave it at that.
Because I believe they're called lycans in the Underworld movies.
Oh, yes.
Because those are a form of werewolf, right?
Yes, they are, because lichen comes from lycanthrope.
Okay.
Lycanthrope being, homo-lycanthrope, depending on the thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's what werewolves are called at a scientific level.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, out of all of the kind of classic monsters, werewolves and vampires are the only ones that have gotten, like, repeated successful films and franchises in the last 30 or 40 years, basically, right?
Yeah. Now, there is one that I feel should be mentioned because it's not mentioned enough, in my opinion. Did you happen to see the recent remake of The Invisible Man?
No, I did not.
It was released in 2020, starring Elizabeth Moss and Aldous Hodge, who's a personal favorite of mine. And that movie is an incredibly good horror movie. Wonderful update to the Invisible Man. Like, it's nothing like the original. It has some small references here and there, but otherwise it's its own kind of independent movie, but it's genuinely well done.
Okay.
Good horror movie. Really fun thriller.
The closest modern film to that, I don't know if it was intended to be a direct reference or whatever, was the Hollow Man back in the 90s, I want to say, or was that early 2000s?
Oh my god, Hollow Man I believe was 2000.
Okay. I know I've seen that. It's been a long time, but I think that was definitely meant to be kind of an homage to the Invisible Man, right?
It was actually called The Invisible Man.
Oh.
In its like pre-production.
Okay. Was that a rights thing?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, that's but I know that, like, obviously vampires got a huge, we've had the Twilight movies, we've had the Blade movies, we've had the Underworld movies, we've had there's one more I'm sure I'm missing.
And so much other things as well.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of one-offs. There's been, and even like the,
recent Nosferatu.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. I'm sorry if anybody. Is this still considered a spoiler? It wasn't Sinners this year. Didn't that actually end up being a vampire movie? It was
Sinners. Yes, that I actually saw that movie in theaters. There's some things that I don't like about it, but it's more of a personal thing. Like, there is an absolute obsession in that movie with oral sex.
Okay.
And it's like, I don't know. It made me feel oogie. It didn't endear me to these characters as like, oh, they're relatable and embracing their sexuality. It's like, y'all are kind of gross, but all right. But other than my own personal nitpicks about being overly sexual, in a lot of ways, that movie is incredible. I loved it.
Okay. So that's one of those,
lots of things to it.
I've heard so
many
many
the Irish, but I'm not super cool about. But whatever.
All right. That's a movie I kept hearing, good things about, and my YouTube crush Dan Merle loved it, but it's just a subject matter that I just don't care about, so I wasn't drawn to like go see it. I'm sure I'll watch it on streaming at some point, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you go in with the mindset of knowing what you're going in for, it's really good. As somebody who was raised like a conservative Christian, it does seem to try and be the opposite of that in every possible way. Like it's highly sexual. It's all about people partying. There's really awesome things to it thematically and dealing with race and whatnot. That's I'm not criticizing that, but what's the best way to put this? The good stuff is voodoo. The bad stuff mentions Christ and things like that.
Yeah. Well, so and there's and there's, as somebody who enjoys history, there's unfortunately plenty of examples of things being done in the name of Christianity that I very much not, unfortunately. So
huge fan of history myself. There's bad things done in the name of every single belief in God under the sun.
Well, there's the common factor of humans are involved, and then things kind of go sideways.
Which brings us back to The Mummy.
Yep.
And some of the horrible things that were done in ancient Egypt that inspired this movie.
Yeah. So I'm actually
bit of a stretch. I'm just trying to circle back.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, you need to help me with that sometimes. Because this is a film that I had. I was telling Zach before we started recording, I'm 99% sure that I saw this as a kid. My mom did enjoy kind of the old school black and white films. I was raised very much. I didn't watch a lot of cartoons growing up. I watched much more of old movies. I watched a lot of Cary Grant and John Wayne and Clark Gable and Charlton Heston, those guys, like those kind of films growing up. And this was, in that same vein, but I don't remember it. And so I watched this, at least on a conscious level, for the first time just this week. And it's interesting, but it's more interesting in a look where we've come from than the movie itself being like riveting. This is very much of its time, but I still am like really glad I watched it again. I'm happy to watch it and record it here because I think that especially going to you can see the seeds of the 1999 film in this for sure. A ton of the ideas were very much adapted. I mean, some of the names are directly copied. Like there's a foundation laid here that actually makes me appreciate the 99 film even more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Very much same.
But, we do have it's a short one tonight. I mean, it is an hour and 13 minutes. And in these old films...
this is going to be our briefest and oldest movie.
Yeah. I mean,
today.
Well, the thing is, one thing about old films, 113 minutes, the credits are like 30 seconds. You really do get that much film because the credits are so short in these old movies. It's like 3 splash pages and then we're done. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, why don't you give us the quick rundown of, I mean, a lot of these people were a big deal back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Quick and dirty sweet beats. Ha. This will actually be another first for us because this is The Mummy. 1932. Not rated. First not rated movie we've ever done.
Ooh. Means it's
We've
naughty,
done
right?
All of the others. We'll have to hit an NC-17 one of these days.
Oh gosh, that's a short list.
1 hour,
most of them are bad.
15 minutes long, right? We'll watch Showgirls because that could fit as fantasy.
Something.
This was directed by Carl Fruand. The list of writers is long. Includes people like Nina Wilcox Putnam, Richard Shaher, and John Balderston. Really, the only star that matters is, of course, Boris Karloff as Imhotep himself. Incredible character actor from the 30s. But we, of course, do also have Zita Johann, David Manners, and Arthur Byron. Now, this movie, like we said, it's brief, it's to the point, it's kind of cheesy, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, and you were telling us too, if anybody does want to revisit this with us, I would encourage you to. And you said this movie you can just go get for free, like it's like public domain in a certain way.
Yes, on the Internet Archive, you can watch The Mummy.
Yeah, so anybody who is interested in this and doesn't want to put out the $4 for Amazon to rent it, go check it out because this is. Kind of like the characters at the beginning of this film do, as they're unearthing things. This is film history. I mean, there were so many things
genuinely
that we take for
important
granted.
movie.
Yeah, well, and so many of these films, especially the monster, they were figuring out how to film things in a scary way, to create lighting, to create angles, to create tension. And also, too, I mean, this movie especially is like, talk about working on a budget. We'll talk about it here as we watch it. But, you could shoot a better film than this, with $1,000 these days and 2 or 3 motivated people and an iPhone. But you could tell there was real effort put in to make this look and work as good as possible for what it was. And I was impressed at multiple parts. It looked good. The makeup is really good. And I mean, there's a lot to talk about and a lot to admire, while at the same time acknowledging that there's a good swath of it that's quite boring. So, But you got anything else before we hit that play button?
Don't do drugs.
All right then.
And I'm ready.
Hit that play button in 3, 2, 1.
Hey. So one of the things that I realized when I was catching up on this movie, I didn't do a full rewatch.
I love the old.
I watched it not too long ago. Oh yeah, the plane going around it,
and it's very clearly like a physical sphere with like the texture on it, and these
little miniatures here.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, unlike the 1999 movie, which doesn't tell you what movie it is till you get like through the entire opening. This one tells you immediately what you're watching.
Actually, one of the interesting things about this one to me is that its villain, its antagonist, isn't super like he is, but in comparison to Dracula and the Wolfman and other contemporaries of it, because this was a direct response to Frankenstein. Also note the music. That's the Danse Macabre. Just absolutely. No, wait, not Danse Macabre. I'm sorry. This is a classical piece of music that is just absolutely beautiful. Love it to death. I was gonna have that. Oh, that's right. It has a little opening.
Oh yeah. We have a full like kind of little lore dump here at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Amun-Ra, the god of gods. Death is but the doorway to a new life.
But it's like written that way, where it's like telling you, it's kind of setting things up for the audience, but it's written in a way where it is like you're reading an inscription of some kind, or an incantation.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, I said Danse Macabre for some stupid reason. That's Swan Lake. Tchaikovsky. I used to have them on a playlist together, so my apologies, I got them mixed up. But it was so interesting to me coming back to this, and I'm like, that was Swan Lake at the beginning. What an interesting choice.
Yeah. And of course, the Field Expedition, season 1921, the British Museum.
Very, very on the nose. But it's got to get the information to you quick, and well, goodness gracious, they do that.
And I mean, the fact that they used that sign again to do the time jump it a little bit here, but this whole opening, I do love the fact that when we get to the next film, they went back to the 20s again, because it's an era that doesn't get a lot of attention. I mean, we have World War I, kind of a little bit of a resurgence in films like 1917 and a few things, and obviously World War II has a lot of movies, and Indiana Jones kind of made the mid to late 30s. And even early 40s, kind of pop again a little bit but the 20s doesn't get a lot of love cinematically as far as an era goes, and there's actually some cool stuff that was happening then. So this is the Mummy, the franchise. At least both the Brendan Fraser one and this one are some of the few large. I think it wasn't the Gatsby also in the 20s, I believe.
Oh, which one?
The Great Gatsby.
Yes, The Great Gatsby took place in the 1920s.
Yeah, so but it's a short list. It's not some massively long list of like movies that enjoy this the setting of the 1920s.
Now, there's something that I wanted to bring up. The director of this movie he was one of the cinematographers for a movie called Metropolis. And it's not a movie that is super well known. Incredibly important movie, especially in its cinematography and its set design and the way that it was filmed. So much of modern science fiction came out of Metropolis. It's vastly underappreciated.
That's one that we definitely need to get to at some point, because it is. But this whole opening, these I love this is a weird thing to say, but I love the faces of all these actors. They just all have that kind of, there's a story in their face almost. There's just like something about the guys from this era. I don't know, maybe I'm just being like weirdly biased here or whatever, but it's just interesting to look at.
Yeah. Now, I want to go on a couple of things. They talk about how this was in the Temple of the Sun in Karnak, and a gentleman by the name of Imhotep. He was some sort of high priest. And Karnak was a real place. The Temple of the Sun was there. Imhotep was actually a real person. This entire movie was brought into production because of the fame of King Tut's tomb's discovery. And that was just a huge thing, big cultural thing. And that's why they made this movie. This movie was originally called Cagliostro and the Curse of Cagliostro. Stuff like that, before they just made it The Mummy, and they changed it from Cagliostro to Imhotep. Imhotep was the name of an architect from ancient Egypt. And they mentioned just a quick couple things there. Like, it was probably for treason. He was buried alive. The time of Ramses. And that right there, there was evidence found that a group of conspirators who tried to assassinate Pharaoh Ramses II was sentenced to death by being buried alive. And that's where they just took this storyline.
So there's some actual legit historical inspiration behind this story.
Yes,
I say
it's not
inspiration.
historically accurate, mind you.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there is some history that did inspire the general ideas behind this, and again, we don't know how accurate it is, but it's not 100% fictional. There was some actual like legit Egyptian inspiration here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. I did love earlier the really trying to sell that lid that was like gold was like heavy. I also loved the casualness of like, oh, it's got the original Pharaoh's seal, so he just like grabs like a knife and just like and just like cuts it and pries it open, just with like no of that like, we're gonna be super precise and really take care. It's just like, let's get this thing open. And because this character is presented as being somebody who's a professional and really, cares about this stuff and takes it seriously. But that was an odd moment to me of, kind of just like, just cut this thing open, with this random knife I got sitting here. And
which is not actually something that would have been done around this time. There are a lot of archaeological events, which some people would just call grave robbing, that were not well organized, and they learned a lot of things, especially from King Tut. The lead on that, I know his name, but I can't. Howard Carter went in there and he grabbed a necklace and it immediately fell apart, and he had to pick up all the beads by hand with like tweezers. And then a whole bunch of the people who investigated the tomb got sick with a fungal infection in their lungs that people thought was actually a curse put on the tomb. And it changed the way that those tombs and such were addressed. And that supposed curse of King Tut's tomb was another one of the inspirations for this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like learning, like, you need to be careful getting into this stuff. And
and actually, some recent interesting scientific discoveries from that very same ancient fungus from King Tut's tomb may lead to some medical breakthroughs in the future. I was just watching a video on it.
Nice.
It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. You definitely, I think you had an interesting mixture, especially back then, of your real academics, the people who really did care. I did love the opening lines there where he's talking about, we will actually learn more of value looking at broken pieces of pottery than the stuff that's more fantastical. And that's not the exact quote, but that's kind of what he says at the beginning. And then just, the idea of let's be, we're not after something sensational for its own sake. And like, I like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that, it was a lot of just, fortune seekers and, the kind of the more the, Indiana Jones is the most famous example of, just fortune and glory kid, right? And then the more that belongs in the museum kind of attitude, and that had to be
you do.
that had to be sorted out in real life. And to this day, there's still just the people who are interested in things for their for the academic sake, for they genuinely are more interested in the person who would get more excited about the scroll than they would about the gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I totally get that. I actually did a brief archaeological internship while I was living in Jerusalem with actually a quite notable archaeologist in the modern day by the name of Shimon Gibson. And pretty much my entire job was sorting through bags of pottery and sorting them by era, between like Byzantine era, Roman, Iron Age, identifying them and sorting them properly. And it was really interesting, and you got to learn about stuff like that because it told you so much about how the society actually operated, whereas some giant monument is going to be cool, but that's not going to necessarily tell you about how the people actually lived and worked and why they did things. Yeah. Because it's a special project. It's an abnormal project.
Okay, this sequence right here, I do want to talk about, because I was reading about this. Sorry to cut you off there. The makeup job here is phenomenal. And the actor did talk about the fact that this is one of the they did this all in one day. It was one of the worst days of his professional life, he said, having to just have all this makeup applied, do this sequence. And then, it took hours to get kind of back to normal again to get it all off. But it was like bits of like rubber and
yeah, what we would almost consider like types of like super glue almost.
Yeah,
and
just
kind of a pre-silicon type of mold. Well, what they would do is they would pinch his skin and then layer it and then let it go, let it dry, and then let it go, so it would expand. And it was torturous for him. It took many hours. But this iconic look of the Mummy is like, he's only in it in this little in his bandage wrappings for what?
I mean, we're never going to see him again. Yeah, I mean, here it's all off screen.
I love the hysterical laughing. Like, it's so unsettling and weird. And like the hyperventilating, like this might actually be my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
And like the line that he gives here. What's the matter, man?
For a little walk.
You went.
Yeah, this scene, and then where when the character goes to burn the scroll, and then when he kills him through the pool later.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my two favorite scenes in the entire film. This and that, as far as just they're executed well. The tension's there. It's just, and it's creepy.
Yeah, that was a line that once I learned of its existence, I'm like, aw,
time jump.
The Mummy could have really done that. Yeah, 10 years.
Now it's they just named it the season after the year. It's season 1932. It's also the year, I assume.
Well, it's not like the season. It's like,
I know.
It's like this, season of a TV show type of thing.
Yeah.
But that is very interesting to me because the time jump, he's now like a dude.
Yeah, and
he's just a scary man.
Yeah, when he comes in here, it's almost like, oh, that's just him. He's just walking in. He's just been hanging out, talking to people, kind of establishing an identity, I guess. So he was able to get himself cleaned up enough. It's the one thing I will say is this is a film where the villain is just like on screen with I'm not even sure if you would call them heroes, but just your other characters, just with them for a good chunk of the film, like talking to him, and and he's not. This is also interesting because as much as he is willing to kill to get his love back, he's definitely not a villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's much more sympathetic. Not entirely unlike what they did with Dracula at the time.
Yeah.
But also, did you catch that they just said that the guy died laughing?
Yeah, he died in a straitjacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here you go. It's just like...
There he is.
And a less extreme version of the makeup, but he just looks like an old guy who's just he's been out in the sun too much, right?
Yeah.
Do you know by any chance how tall he was?
Boris Karloff?
Yeah.
Tall.
Yeah,
I did. I looked it up for this and I forgot.
Yeah, he is an impressive man, but you can just he has that. He so one of the other really, really famous actors from this era, Lon Chaney, right? Who's just like the man of 1,000 faces.
Yeah.
Just that type of. It's weird because there is a face that kind of belongs with an era. In cinema, this was just part of it. And it was just they were character actors. They would play. I think of in Star Wars, the guy who played Tarkov. Is it Peter Cushing?
Peter Cushing.
Very similar face, right? And just you had those very narrow faces, just those piercing eyes. Christopher Lee was another classic actor who just kind of had that look about him, and it was very effective because as much as that was part of what made them very memorable on screen, they were also great actors.
Mm-hmm. He just gave his name as Ardeth Bay, which is the name of the Magi, played by Oded Fehr in the 99 Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
Oded Fehr.
Also, funny thing, because this is why I had to look it up, because I didn't want to get it wrong. Boris Karloff was 5'11".
So he's not as tall as I. Okay.
No, he's wearing, in fact, a lot of the actors were very short.
So just comparatively, he looked extra tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, what a job! You stand on this hill and just pass dirt in baskets all day in the sun in Egypt for like pennies a day, probably back then.
Mm-hmm.
And especially having these two British dudes sit under an umbrella and just watch you work, which is really got to be good for your morale, right?
Right.
I do love that they actually show here that like finding a step would be a big deal because that would show there's something of substance down here. But like that they start with the stair because from an archaeological point of view, that would be huge.
Yeah. It means that there is something. And, the guys there, they're like happy about it, I love how the baskets going up are empty.
They have a little bit in them. A tiny bit of dirt in the bottom.
Did you know that there was a movie that specifically references this film as one of its chief inspirations for its opening scene?
Really?
Yes, we've already watched it.
Okay, which one is it?
It's called Stargate.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
The excitement of discovery and the insanity of it.
Love the old safari hats. It's like almost like a helmet. But
okay, my grandfather had one of those, and given how much he traveled, I don't think he got it because it was a novelty. Dude died when he was like 99. It's just like he was old. He was out there. He was in the military during World War II, stuff like that. Can't call him a combat vet or anything, but he was in the military. He was in research and development and quartermaster or something like that. I don't remember, but He traveled around, saw Egypt and things like that, and he has one of those hats. And my dad handed it to me while I was doing hedge trimming for them not a month ago and went, "Here, you should wear this." And I'm like, I look like I'm gonna go hunt a gorilla.
So it's weird because in my mind, I think of these names the way they're spoken in the 99 film. And even though the names are like the same names, the enunciation is so different in this film for most of them that I keep thinking like you're saying it wrong when this was by far the first film. So
yeah, well, the thing with this movie is that it took stuff that happened and existed, right? And it just kind of, well, we're gonna pronounce it this way. When you get to the sequel, when you get to the remake, you have it so that they did some research in how it should have been pronounced. And
so the 99 film probably is more accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just got... I mean, though they actually do slur the names in 99 on purpose. The American diggers. Just like, what about our boy Imhotep? Instead of the other guys calling him Imhotep.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that that Oded Fehr's character would definitely pronounce them the best, probably. But
I love Oded Fehr so much.
Oh, he's great.
You're gonna hear about that when we get to The Mummy 99, because he's the reason I'm excited for the upcoming Star Trek Starfleet Academy show, because he's one of the main characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
here we have this character of Helen, played by Zita Johann. She was around. She was she wasn't in very much. She only acted in 9 things. Like, this is one of very few movies that she made.
Interesting. I mean, and like most of the actors in this, I don't mean this in a mean way, but like they're not very memorable, and I don't know if that's the movie's fault or their fault, because she just kind of delivers her lines, and she's a pretty face, and she doesn't do anything like there's no actor I would call it as being like particularly egregiously bad in this film, but most of them are just they're just, this resembles from an acting point of view like just kind of your basic stage play.
Yeah, I remember one of the interesting things, because she was primarily a stage actress, which is why she didn't do many movies. But one of the reasons why she didn't do a lot is she actually got in a car accident. And She was actually hit by actor John Huston.
Okay.
Like classic character actor, in all kinds of things. The original voice of Gandalf the Grey.
Oh, in the animated?
Yeah, in the animated. The bad guy in what, Chinatown? Super small but memorable role.
Oh, yeah.
Secrets of Sierra Madre, things like that.
Yeah. The other reason I think he looks tall is that his garb, that kind of one long cloak, really kind of makes it look, and his hat, right? He's got two things. His wardrobe's doing a lot of lifting there too. But
you'll also notice that he's wearing platforms, so he's probably about 6'1", 6'2" in this. These gentlemen here, if you look at the proportions to everything around them, they're probably 5'6", 5'8".
Yeah. Well, the average height has been going up over time, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it has. Part of crossbreeding and pretty much getting out of the British Isles when it comes to people's descent.
So here, I mean, this movie does. You have to be kind of paying attention to understand like what's happening here a little bit. I think the movie does just kind of jump you like, oh, okay, so he's at the princess, and he's like reading. Mm-hmm. He is basically like reciting the incantation, right, to raise somebody from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
But it triggers the reincarnated or like somewhat reincarnated. The actual like mythology of what's happening here with her is a little bit, even after watching this earlier this week, is like, okay, I think I understand why it affects her, because she is somehow like a partial reincarnation, or she has some like ancestral. She is supposed
to be a reincarnation of Anck-su-namun.
Okay, but the mummy sitting next to him is also supposed to be legitimately Anck-su-namun, right?
Yes, that's her dead body, which is something it really bothered me in the movie The Mummy Returns, that they suddenly bring reincarnation bullcrap into that, and just like, oh, she's a reincarnated version of Princess Neytiri, who is the daughter of the pharaoh that was murdered at the beginning. I'm like, this is stupid. And then I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, they were trying to be clever.
So, so the reason that it didn't wake up her dead body is because Anck-su-namun's soul is in her.
Yes, you can't resurrect a dead body with the soul of somebody who's currently ensouled with it. That's the rules, I'm guessing.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little rusty in my Egyptian mythology lore. The the D&D rules of the pharaohs.
The D&D rules of the pharaohs.
This is like, okay, right here though, the cinematography in this movie is good. Like, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for black and white films, because there is something about just the contrast and the shadows, and just the film grain on them and everything. It doesn't fix a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Like, it's not like it's magic, but it also has some a little bit of nostalgia for me. And I love that these guys are randomly here, so they do see her go in. So there is a little bit of that, continuity there. And but the shot where Imhotep was kneeling in front, and the candles down on the ground, and it looks good. Like right here, it's good lighting, and I think it's helped by the fact it's black and white.
And it was directed by somebody who was a very important cinematographer.
Yeah. Well, didn't he also do cinematography on one of the monster movies, like one of the big ones?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. The who we're talking about, by the way, is Karl Freund. And he did lots of cinematography work. Wow.
I love that the subtitles are not trying to translate, the ancient Egyptian. It's just speaking ancient language.
Right. Dracula.
Okay, yeah, that was a big one for sure. But you can tell the money spent on this, because we've had most of the these sets. You can tell I'm using air quotes on a podcast, so I apologize. The artifacts are pretty basic and cheap.
Yeah.
He said, just waves. Yeah, I got a flashlight, guy.
Right.
Man,
the lamp interests me because
yeah.
it's in the shape of a traditional oil lamp, but it doesn't burn like one, and I'm wondering if they just like had a candle inside something that was kind of the right shape, or if that was like the oil lamps of the time.
Yeah. Good off screen. There's several off screen deaths in this movie where you just get a good Foley artist, doing a little
Foley artist.
Foley artist. I said folio, didn't I?
You did. I'm like somebody's writing on a paper over there.
Foley
now,
artist.
Was this before or after the code was in place? Because the censor, I think it was after.
Like the MPAA?
Mm-hmm. Because some of the stuff that they did in those movies back when, woo, couldn't show that on network television.
This movie does have one thing in it that really did. I was surprised. I was like, oh, that this movie actually, even though it's off screen, kills a dog.
Yeah?
Which,
does the dog die? The answer is yes.
Like, most movies don't do that. Like, that's one of those things in film. You don't kill animals. Unless it's a horse. You can kill horses, weirdly enough. In cavalry charges and a lot of, old war films, that kind of stuff.
Well, there's a weirdly large amount that eat cats. That's something I've noticed in some movies lately.
Really?
Okay. But
Okay.
dogs dying is such a thing in film for people that there's an entire site that I actually find quite useful, called "Does the Dog Die?" And if there is anything that somebody is sensitive to, this will list it. My wife is intensely emetophobic. She doesn't like movies where people barf. It makes her want to barf. And so I can go to this site called Does the Dog Die? And it'll tell me if that movie has somebody barfing in it. But it'll also be everything from, is a child abused? Does a child lose his toy? Is there copaganda? Is there defamation of cops? Things like that. It's really interesting.
Anything that you might be sensitive to?
Mm-hmm.
She has very big eyes.
She does. I was just noticing that.
Like the whites of her eyes are massive.
Yeah. There's this one actress who has been in a lot of things. I primarily remember her as this from the show Heroes. She had a recurring role in it. But trying to remember the actress's name. Her name is Jayma Mays. And she looks a lot like this lady. She has those giant eyes and kind of that classic bone structure and things like that. She was in stuff like Paul Blart Mall Cop and things like that.
Yeah. Well, this actress, she's very kind of classically pretty, of just the era, but she's also just tiny. She's a little thing.
Yeah. Very small, which I think is intentional.
Oh yeah. Well, I think you wanted the contrast, right, of somebody that seems very, in an image level, the contrast between her and Imhotep, and again, these weren't big guys, but you still want them to look strong next to her. So yeah. I feel like I could, with one hand, I feel like I could span her entire arm.
Oh, definitely. I noticed that because actresses during this time, they had some pretty thin actresses, but not all of them were early 2000s stick thin type of thing. They had some variations to their weight, I guess you could say. And even by the standards of these movies, this chick's small.
Yeah. It's interesting here that they establish, the death, but also kind of how he died. The mummy doesn't it's not like he's stabbing people or physically hurt, maiming them somehow. It's just, this guy just died of shock, and they think, okay, the guy's heart later on tears. Interesting, though, the mummy did not take the scroll.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a plot convenience.
Yeah. Not to mention that for the age, this scroll is really durable. because I'm not sure too many 2,000-year-old scrolls that could handle these guys, handling it the way that they do, just opening and closing it like it looks so crisp and clear. They definitely could have done a little better work making this thing look, 3,500 years old?
Yep, 3,500 years old. And I'm sitting there, and frankly, they show it unrolled, and I end up getting distracted because the weird way that they drew the guy and his robe made it look like he had like a penis sticking out.
Yeah, he's happy to see you.
Yes, he's pitching a tent over there.
I do. I love the speed at which, like, they have to throw in like a love angle here. Like, I've never. I don't mean this in any kind of and just the idea, like, it's so scandalous. They're kissing, which. Oh, it will strike my son. Oh, it's just, but the idea too of like you walk in and like they're in the middle of a kiss and it cuts back and now he's like standing up and like behind her. Like they don't show any like awkward like, oh dear, because it was, you're not supposed to be fooling around so quickly back then.
I mean, doesn't it imply that they've known each other for a while? Like this is a thing.
No, he says right here that like I just met you. Like I don't feel this way about somebody I just met, and that it's just I've never felt this way in a serious way before. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but yeah, no, it's implied that basically he just met her and now he's in love with her.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but there's a mummy. Run away, baby.
Did you just come up with that on the top of your head?
I did, and there's a meme from 10 years ago for all of you youngins.
Oh my gosh. Man, see, I feel like
I would
that's
apologize, but I'm not sorry.
I still feel like that's a somewhat recent song, but it's really not, isn't it? That was like an Obama thing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was Obama era.
Yeah. That was like 3 presidents ago, or at least 3 terms.
That's 3 terms ago.
Let's not talk about politics.
Well,
but this...
yeah.
Go ahead.
Possibly 3 presidents, depending on who you consider was president during Biden's administration.
That's true.
While he was hanging out of the pool.
Yeah. Man. There's a lot of staring in this movie. Just a lot of like, I stare, you stare. And there's the chanting is so low, like you can barely hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like he's got Egyptian magic that works against people with Egyptian blood?
Probably. I mean, they were super racist back then. So, I wouldn't be surprised. Have you ever sat on one of those couches?
They're really hard.
And small.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that she could lay out on one shows you.
Yeah, she's like 5'4", probably, something like that.
Something.
And she's still like kind of scrunched up a little bit. She has her knees bent and everything. But like, here, I'll just like the pacing here, the shadow on his face. It's just, it's still like, it's well shot. Although, all of this would have been early electric lamps at this point, right? So lighting would be very positional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the way that they keep the eyes constantly at the center of the shots is pretty good. And you'll see it like right here. This shot, I remember, because the way that the camera is out and then pulls in on them is not something that you saw a lot in 1932 cinematography. And it gives the movie just a little bit more life.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you notice when you're watching something like Frankenstein or Dracula and whatnot, other movies from around this time, is that they were a lot more static in their shots.
Oh, yeah. You take it for granted now how much...
These...
Go ahead, sorry.
Like, look here, it's pulling in even more, and there hasn't been a scene break.
Yeah, that was not done. You take it for granted now how easy it is to put a camera in motion. And that was a big deal because there was no Steadicams back then. You either had to have a camera that was good enough that you could do an optical zoom, so you didn't lose any of your picture quality, or you had to set up a legit like little train track and do like a track mounted camera to be able to do a pan or a zoom by actually physically moving the camera, and especially when you were on a budget. This right here, it pans back and forth. This is a dude just on a tripod, just physically turning a camera and following these guys. There's nothing more complicated going on.
The amount that we take for granted of things like motion tracking shots Do you have any idea how crazy it was for motion tracking to like come onto the scene in Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, which for those of you who don't know, Star Wars was the first movie to use a special effects thing that George Lucas actually like helped to create himself, because he's much more of a special effects guy. It's called motion tracking, where you're able to essentially have the camera set in a position that you can run the same shot twice in identical, like mathematically identical positions.
Yeah. Well, they had to
and you're able to then shoot one and then shoot another scene and then shoot another scene with all looking exactly the same thing, perfectly tracked.
Yeah.
And that had never been done before 1977.
Yeah. Well, they had to, because to make it look good, they had to do the same shot with different layers over and over and over again. And if the camera was off by even a tiny, tiny bit, it would ruin the whole thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again...
And you saw it tried in other movies, like especially the early movies that had the whole two-actor setup. You saw it attempted, but it didn't always work well.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, the idea of putting it on a rig where a computer is controlling the camera, like, that was the big thing. Mm-hmm. Versus, they would do it before, but it was still a manual thing, with a camera with like stops and tracks and stuff that would get it close, but nothing like having the computer control the movement of the camera. So
yeah, because that's what allowed you to have things like the Death Star, trench run and stuff like that, and those kind of early ships and things.
But yeah, you definitely, if you go back and you watch any movies from kind of the 30s and backwards, the camera rarely, I mean, like this, we have another pull in. The camera rarely moves where it's the camera has moved to a different spot. It's either zooming in or pulling out, or it's turning. Mm-hmm. But the idea that the camera is moving left to right, and the actors are also moving, but also too, just directors getting comfortable with the idea that you can create energy. You can, the way that you shoot something really matters with injecting the scene with you're getting the audience in a subtle way into what's happening, and becoming more immersed by not just making it look like I'm just staring through a window at these events. And it also is one of the big things that started to differentiate film from stage, because a lot of early films honestly were shot like it was just, this is a stage play that we happen to be filming instead of having a live audience for, and that's
it was
where it
the
all
evolution
started.
of that art, you know.
Oh yeah. I think that that combined with the guys like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, who were the very physical actors, who were like, well, we can play tricks with the camera, we can do things here, and because we're going to let the audiences see us up close, we can really start to get into the detail of like makeup and performance in a way that's going to sell the audience on something spectacular, because they're not looking at us from across a room. They're looking at us very closely. So it's, I mean, there are all those elements that make film magic. We're watching this. We're in the middle of an era where they were still figuring out and just beginning to imagine things that we now take for granted.
Yeah.
But this is all like, I mean, sorry, we're just kind of talking through, but this is just kind of, this is a scene where with very little drama, they're like, oh, you're the mummy. And you're like, we can't hurt you, but you have magic. And we're, they literally pull the whole, people know, and if you kill us, we're going to destroy your valuable thing. I mean, and it happens so like chill here. I don't know how else to put it. That's a weird way to put it, but it's very without fuss, as these guys just accept that the curse is real, the Egyptian magic is real. This is the mummy brought back to life, and there's that shot.
Well, they're handling it with the classic British stiff upper lip.
Yes. It's just, you would never have this happen like this in a modern film, where the guy that you thought was one thing was actually the main villain. And when I discover it, I just sit here and have like a somewhat calm conversation with him. Right?
And even if you were to do that, you'd fill it with this intense, palpable tension, you know? Well, where this, maybe it does have an intense, palpable tension, but... Oh, here's a thing that really goes against the other Mummy movies. He's hanging out with a cat.
Yeah, he does not like cats in the 99 film.
No. Did you know that cats, that they really were worshipped? And do you know what they were named in ancient Egyptian society?
No.
They were called Maus.
Maus? Like close to mouse?
Close to meow.
Oh, meow. Interesting. So they were naming them after the noise they made.
Yeah, it's like they walked up to it and went, "Hey, what's your name?" And it went, "Meow." And they're like, "All right, I guess that is."
That's an onomatopoeia, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that, by the way. I an onomatopoeia. You learned it from Tigger, but it's a real thing.
T-I-double-G-R.
Man, this is a classic. All right, you're gonna have a heart attack. I love the mummy. Imhotep. Just his hand looks so just great. And
are you getting force choke vibes off this?
100%. Yeah. But I mean, I think it's like he's squeezing his heart, right? He's constricting his heart, and then the idea that it takes effort for the mummy, that it's like he kind of has that slump there, it took effort for him to do that.
Now, there's one thing that we haven't seen in a modern mummy movie that's just absolutely terrible. We haven't seen our main mummy just rolling around in robes and a fez.
The thing is, too, I think Arnold Vosloo could have pulled it off.
I think he could, too, yeah.
Have you seen that photo going around of him and the gal who played...
Nox Newman? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And they're like...
She's aged well with some...
Yeah. She's still a beautiful woman.
But she looks good.
And he looks a little more rough.
He doesn't look bad,
No.
He's 70 years old, right?
Yeah.
And... he's a little weighty, but he's still got that look on his face, Yeah. He's such a fun actor. Apparently he would get assaulted by children who saw him.
Oh, goodness.
Some kid ran up to him and would kick him in the leg and yell, "Bad mummy." I love that stuff.
What nationality is he?
Arnold Vosloo?
Yeah. Is he actually Middle Eastern somewhere? Or?
Vosloo leads me to think... I'm just going to look it up. I'm not going to...
Yeah. So this whole thing... Again, we have this weird conversation happening here where this guy's this is... His mentor is discovered dead, but we're talking about, the woman that I clearly could tell you were attracted to. Well, yeah, you walked in on us kissing, so I'm guessing I'm attracted to her. But they also this necklace becomes a thing, the Isis necklace. But he took it off this guy who died, but it didn't do anything for him, obviously.
I mean, maybe it needs to be calibrated?
Maybe.
No, this movie is full of holes, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't use the Necklace of Isis or something in one of the modern remakes. It seems like that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Isis, of course, being the kind of queen of the gods, goddess of fertility, amongst other things. Ancient Egyptian people used a lot in popular culture. I specifically remember it from the TV show Archer, which they then had to change to something else for a couple seasons after it was used as a moniker for a major terrorist organization.
Yeah. I love how clearly you can tell these guys are sitting in a box that's shaking with scenery going behind them, on a screen, a projection.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a front projection, I believe.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
You go watch the old James Bond movies, and oh god, the amount of front projection driving, it's so bad.
Well, and it always
It's
throws
so
me off too
embarrassingly bad.
because whenever they do the wide shot here, the two of them, they're constantly swaying, right? Like that's the thing. Like somebody's moving this, but then it goes to a close up of their hand showing them something, and it's dead still. Like there's no movement of any kind. And to keep the consistency, it should be a little, a tiny bit of movement right there, right? Man, his face
There's
is
that
just
stare
iconic.
again. I love the brightening of the lights on his eyes.
Yeah, he's a Gould.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Here's a question for you. Would you describe a mummy as a zombie?
This poor dog. He was like, I don't want to come here. This is bad. I can tell. And I love dogs, so this actually did bother me a little bit. This is a beautiful dog too. Like it's just a, Anyways, at least it happens off screen.
Zero impact to that door handle.
Yeah. Anyways,
so are mummy zombies?
Technically, yeah. I mean, I mean, okay. I believe they are a type of zombie. Okay, the fact too that I'm jumping ahead here a little bit that apparently the cat kills the dog, right? That's what they say. Like later on, it's like, oh, there was a cat that like this white cat apparently went off screen and murdered this dog. What the actual?
I mean, isn't it supposed to be part of his power or something like that?
I don't know. Okay, the shape of this pool, by the way, when I was watching this earlier this week, I looked it down for a sec at my phone or something. I looked back up, and it was the first time they showed the view in his pool here, and I legit for a second is is he watching TV? Because the shape when they shoot it, it looks like an old 1920s television that's the rounded rectangle, and it was like, oh no, he's looking in his pool, he's hanging out with Galadriel, and they're watching the burning of the Shire.
Yeah, with some dry ice apparently.
But this
shot, is a cool shot though.
Yeah, this crane shot and getting all the timing there right. This would have been a very complicated shot for the time.
It would have been, and you don't even have a jump cut. So it's just my question is, how did they get that projection behind there so perfectly while still having that unbroken fog?
Well,
I suspect.
I think there was a hidden cut there with the fog. I think that there was a.
I agree, but it's really good.
It is. Oh yeah, especially for the 30s, it was very well done. These poor girls were walking down a hill, but we got to keep them this bowing thing. Just be murder on your back.
Right? Yeah. So they have he was in love with the girl and she died. This is a lot more simple and a lot more relatable than the remake mummies, which were all much more malicious, where this one's so almost sweet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the whole murder of the pharaoh and
her suicide, and it was a conspiracy.
Yeah, it was. Well, and just the whole that she was also the whole nobody's gonna touch her but the pharaoh himself, and just yeah, there was definitely
painted.
They yeah, nobody's seen body paint okay, I'm gonna save it, but one of my favorite commentaries ever, which I will talk about at length next week, is Brendan Fraser's commentary on The Mummy. It is, if you haven't listened to it,
I haven't.
Oh, Zach, if you have it or you have access to it, watch The Mummy, because he does it's just him, just Brendan Fraser, and he's just telling stories, and it is almost as good as the movie by itself. Listening to his stories as you watch the film.
I love that they have the scroll of Thoth here, which is replaced by the Book of Thoth in the later one, but it's in this chamber underneath the statue, just like in this one,
Yeah, it's a box in a box.
Mm-hmm. He put that box inside another box. Then he mailed that box to himself.
And the little cuts there of like,
statue's just like, excuse me.
well, the statue moves, and then like that quick jump cut to him like bowing down. They either like a jump cut there, or they like sped it up like for a second. But it's funny. Oh,
little
man.
splice.
And just again, it's so, the drama here is so subdued compared to a modern film. Like they broke in, but here's like two British extras like walking in with their shields and spears, and like did like this like military like ha ha, you know, and like turn, and then he's just like, oh well, I'm caught. I better go die now. You know, just like no drama at all. Just like accepts his fate. It's so different tonally than what we're used to. We just take for granted these days.
Yeah. And apparently this scared people.
Yeah. And just like how this scene, it's so he's barely resisting. It's so not intense. Like there's no intensity about the screen. This guy wrapping him up he's not even going that tight, you know? Like
he's like, no, me.
I mean, because they got into the whole, you know, like cutting his tongue off, and you know, and then off screen, you know, that he's like, you know, gonna have his eyes gouged out and all kinds of crazy things. I mean, that one shot,
and then
there
when they
of
actually
like,
put him in, he's like,
yeah,
you know,
and then of course adding the scarabs, which is like just the extra icing in the new one. Anybody who's got like a bug
scarab
phobia,
beetles still give me the willies.
Yeah. I also love the lid of this thing is like it's got no weight to it at all.
Yeah,
it's just like this thing would be like
a cardboard box will keep him in for all eternity.
This thing it's an airtight seal, and then we're gonna like scrape all the jewels off of it.
Yeah, it's just so obviously like plaster.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, this is where you get into a little of the unintentional comedy of just films of this era.
The olden times. No, it's very true. It's very true.
But I mean, I hope anybody listening to this knows, like, I say this with love. I have nothing but respect for the people who pioneered film, because everything we take for granted had to start somewhere, and people had to figure it out. And this, it's you don't just magically arrive one day at what we now just love about film. You had to have the combined efforts of all these people trying stuff and then watching somebody else do it and thinking, okay, well, I can do that, but I can do it better this way, or I can see that, you know, this scene would be better if I could add this to it. I could ask my actors to do it this way. I mean, all that stuff, layers and layers and layers, and generations of actors and filmmakers and, you know, directors and cinematographers and lighters and, you know, I mean, just all the people. And editing. I mean, editing's a huge thing. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a pretty gruesome death for the time. Like, it showed the blood and everything.
Yeah. It was a big, thick spear.
And it's just a slave being speared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that spear, that little tale that he gave there was actually something from Genghis Khan. The tomb of Genghis Khan, they still don't know where it is. They're fairly certain they know where it is, but it's been proclaimed a UNESCO site, and nobody's allowed to dig there without the Mongolian government's permission, and they won't give it. But supposedly he was taken and buried, and the slaves that built the tombs were all killed by soldiers. Those soldiers were killed by another group of soldiers who committed suicide so that nobody could ever know where he was buried.
Yeah.
And they like transmuted it over here.
Well, and then when we get to a bad movie in the Mummy trilogy, they kind of try to, I think, do that storyline, that idea again, right? With the Emperor's Tomb.
Oh yes, the Emperor's Tomb.
So that cat ran off screen a few seconds ago to go kill the dog. Just want to say that again, if people haven't understood my strong feelings about this.
Well, I'm voting for the cat.
You're a monster. Can't they just get along? I have a cat. He gets along with the dogs.
Dogs and cats living together. Madness. Mania. Yeah, it is a really strange thing. Like, I don't understand, like, why they killed the dog.
It doesn't serve a... And then she, like, arrives back and, you know, this is how you, like, find out
like,
about it.
Oh, no, my dog died.
she's like, well, I took the dog out. Well, where is the dog? He's dead. Wait, what? It's just, again, there's one thing about the dialogue exchange in a lot of these films from this era is they had very little energy to them. It's just very like we're just delivering our lines.
Yeah. She's. Oh, where's the dog? She looks kind of alien in that shot.
Yeah.
Like she has an alien head. She's definitely dubbed too. I don't know who voices her, but she's definitely dubbed.
Yeah.
Like it's distracting at times.
Yeah. Well, and he is this guy, and I have no idea, what else he may have done, but he looks like he's acting. You know what I mean? Like he very much looks like he's acting. And I feel bad.
Yeah, he looks like a stage actor.
Yeah, like he's just like, all right, like I made the decision, and now I'm angry, and now I'm concerned, and now I love you, and now I'm just it is very just classically, just he's acting.
He's a bit of a goober.
Yeah, Helen, I love you. I'm trying to protect you.
I love the kind of 1930 we say like a 1930s type hero, when the fact is the 1930s type heroes were like this guy who was just like, I'm stuffy and pretentious and you should just tell me what's going on and I'll go punch somebody, when really we want an Indiana Jones. We want a Rick O'Connell right now.
Yes. Yeah, we need somebody who can go handle something with, because this guy really just kind of says a lot but doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
he's got no panache.
And then immediately
give him a hat and a bull whip.
Yeah, they hit a weird stereotype here too of just like she's like the doctor came and doctors are almost treated like you never disagree with anything they say, and just you're just a hysterical woman. We're gonna put you in bed and give you like drugs or something, and nobody. It's just like there's some weird cliches going on here.
Yeah, very much so.
Although scandalous, he's got a bare shoulder.
Yeah. So such a slut, kissing on the first date. Yeah. A lot of people. It was really funny. One of the things that I read about this movie is that a lot of people described it as being moody. Would you describe it as moody?
I guess a little bit. This nurse. And then she's like, wait, what do you need? I'll give you whatever you want. And she's like describing like the mummy, and he's like, he's going to give you like riches or whatever. And then it's, the doctor's very, kind of cliche at the time. He's got his glasses and he's an old balding man because every doctor was an old balding man. And, bring me my toilet things. It's interesting. Just the idea here of like, I'm going from like, I'm going to try to bribe you to get me out of here to now help me look pretty so I can manipulate my guy. It's just, this whole sequence is weird because she's trying to like, on one hand, she doesn't want to be taken back, but she does. And it's like, I think that they're trying to portray an internal conflict that she's going through, but it just comes across as like almost a comedy routine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's like trying to be manipulative, but I'm not really sure what the point is.
Yeah, but when I say comedy routine, I don't mean that it's funny, because it's not. But it almost acts like it's trying to do that, even though it's not succeeding.
Yeah.
I know I can make you happy.
Kiss me. So one of the things I was going to talk about that I forgot about it during the actual thing is during that whole mirror scene where we're seeing the flashbacks, there were actually a whole bunch more filmed for that. It was going to show her reincarnated throughout the ages, including like into Viking times, and all that footage was destroyed. And some stills exist today, but that's it.
So like they were destroyed as in like accidentally, and they weren't able to put them in the film?
No, it's just they cut the footage, and over time it just disappeared or burned down or rotted or something.
Well, I do know that
there's so many movies out there that don't exist anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, if they weren't stored correctly, I mean, the celluloid's gone for a lot of these movies. If they weren't, and then then you're stuck with the best version of whatever was saved digitally or something like that. There's I remember decades ago watching something on the Discovery Channel about like a decommissioned salt mine that's like a film storage, like one of the largest film storage sites in the world, and it's one of the a naturally perfect environment to store old school film at that'll last and not deteriorate. I think I'm remembering it correctly.
Completely removes the moisture from the air.
Yeah. How many cigarettes has this guy been smoking?
Those look like very specific kinds of cigarettes. It's probably trying to get some chips. No, but there were 11.
Okay? I'll take your word for it. I'm just gonna give her drugs to keep her asleep.
Right.
And, okay, so here it's interesting that he does he kind of closes the door here in a second. He puts the necklace on her to help protect her, I guess. And but it's weird. I really thought he had died after the scene coming up here, and it turns out he didn't. I don't really know what is it, just because he's younger, or I'm not really sure what was.
I think they just didn't want to kill the hero.
But he's not a hero in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't do anything heroic.
Yes, but he's the love interest, and he's sleeping in a suit.
Yeah.
Take off your freaking jacket, man.
And your shoes. I mean, dude.
I don't know. If you're I've been in some situations where you kind of needed to be ready for anything, and I have slept with my shoes on. But, take your tie and jacket off. I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, I don't know why he survived this. This was always...
Because it's
seems he can't die because he's...
Because because this is kind of going through the whole thing again, just the guy before him, and he's trying to get to the necklace. Is it because he gets a hold of the necklace there for a second, maybe? And then of course that shot again.
It's the fourth time they did that shot.
Yeah, they've done it multiple times. And then she's just I'm just gonna step over you.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was reading is saying that there's she almost has split personality. She's going to be taken over by the reincarnated Anck-su-namun Moon, or she's going to be Helen. And so there's a jumps between the two. And so we have a dead guard, we have a bent thing, and it's just all supposed to be implying that they found each other, broke into the museum, and killed a guard.
And dressed her up.
All in 12 seconds.
Yeah. There's some leaps there. Because she's all of a sudden this weird Egyptian garb, which I'm not sure if that's period accurate. Of course, he's still in the same outfit. Because he never changes.
I don't think that's period appropriate at all. I also don't think it was very censor appropriate for the time. Because I'm fairly certain I can see underboob.
Oh, yeah.
Scandalous. The freaking hair curls, dude.
Oh, man. Yeah. Some hairstylists, and she got the headpiece in general, and then this whole thing where okay, I've got to convince you now, I need you to die so I can bring you back, so you'll be at the same, so you'll exist on the same level that I am as a reincarnated mummy, and then we just have to really hope that nobody ever burns this scroll because our mortality is that fragile, or our immortality is that fragile.
Yeah, I guess so. He wants to make her immortal, and I think it would also, purge her of Helen.
I love the glass breaks coming up here. If you watch it, the motion he does and the sound effect, but there's very little. It's just, it's again unintentionally funny. I do love the shadows here. The way that this is lit, where you have behind them the really big shadows on the walls. And, there's no apparent lighting other than the candle, but again, they've demonstrated in this room there is electric lights in previous scenes. Here we go. There's nothing, he's just moving his hand down, and they're playing a sound effect. There was nothing in the way there.
And the thing is, because of how it was shot, they couldn't just add sound effects after, because he's, speaking during it, unless he ADR'd, which I don't know, he might have. because they did with her, but I don't know if it was the same scene as anything she spoke in. But there might have just been somebody off to the side breaking glass.
It might be. You're right. It might have been. And then moving the mummy, they don't show at all him actually like pulling this prop out of the display case, because I'm guessing there's no way to like elegantly do that, because they just cut it, to him like leaning her up like in this very, very tall fireplace.
Yeah. Like, how lucky that we have a nice alcove we can just burn.
Well, it's not even an alcove. It's an actual fireplace, because when they pull up here in a minute, they see the smoke coming out of the chimney, and it's like a perfectly human-sized fireplace.
There's a secret door behind there. You just have to hit the back wall a few times.
Oh yeah, yep.
Oh, but yeah, this probably would have been as scandalous an outfit for this time as Anck-su-namun's just kind of fishnet from the original.
Oh yeah,
from the
it's funny because
from the 99.
The 20s was definitely full of a lot of in real culture pushing boundaries, but on film you weren't supposed to do that at all. Not until much later. Because the Roaring 20s. If you went to clubs at the time, you saw some stuff for sure, but not at the movie theater. That definitely didn't come until later.
Yeah.
And okay, so like it's like a bird and a snake kind of combined is her headpiece.
Oh, is it a snake? I genuinely thought that it was like...
Is it?
A whole bird, and that was like the bird's head, but you're right, that's a snake.
But it looks like the head of a snake and the body of a bird almost.
I don't know. Did you say something about Anubis? Because Anubis is a jackal.
Yeah, that's right. He's like a god, right? He's like the he's like the jackal god. He's usually black.
Anubis is the god of the dead.
Dead.
Actually not depicted as like a bad guy at all. He's actually kind of a peaceful god of the dead. And it's actually, a lot of people confuse Anubis's heavy evil as kind of like, oh, he's an evil Egyptian god with Set. Set was had a similar look, but he was like the god of chaos and fire and things like that. So Stargate's depiction was not correct, I'm afraid.
So here we have the okay. Just this whole plan. No, the scream is great, and just this whole sequence again. There's so little tension here. So we go to our knees. He's not pulling her at all, and I don't. He does his like hand thing. There's so many.
It's the ring.
Yeah, there's so many places where he could have killed her, but he just kind of waits, And so he's like kind of controlling her again here. She walks. It was just like so. The time for the two guys to come in, but then they don't actually do anything. She all of a sudden remembers that she can pray to the statue. The resolution to this problem is very interesting. Also, too, the amount of time happening. Like, how close are these guys? Because they're still in the house. They have to like get in the car and drive to wherever this place is, and the timelines don't really sync up, is what I'm trying to say here. But he's like fine. It's like, oh, I fell asleep. It's kind of how he acts here, right?
Yeah. And now he knows the horrible plan. Like, how does he figure this stuff out?
No, well, the script told him.
Oh, yeah. Script says I have another shot.
I've definitely seen some better prop knives also. Even if you're going for that old kind of chiseled, like stone knife look.
Mm-hmm. Anck-su-namun. Yeah. But yeah, you see that this is a statue of Anubis. Osiris had a different head. In fact, I think Osiris actually just had the head of a man.
I just realized his outfit does change a little bit. He's got a belt now.
Oh, wow, a belt. Is that a cat on it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Osiris was god of the underworld, resurrection. So that's fitting with the whole resurrection thing. And but he was praying to Anubis, statue of Anubis there, who he ferried the dead to the underworld. So maybe it's like,
So here we go. Here we got
the
body burning in the chimney there.
Right.
Like, oh no, what do we do? It's locked.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting knife. It is cheap looking, but it doesn't look. I like the design. I've seen good props. How do they get inside? Did they unlock the door? Is that what it was? I've seen knives that have more of the circular look that are like kind of chipped stone that still look very sharp, even though they're not pointy. Mm-hmm.
He's
got terrible reaction time.
Oh yeah. He's like the slowest. Just this movement behind her. Again, there's so little tension here, and I know that by the standards of the time, this was actually like tense and scary. But again, we're so far beyond it now.
Somebody punch him. Okay, so I guess he just has a hypnotizing magic ring or something like that.
There is a scarab though, right?
Yeah, that's the scarab.
Yeah, and then like here, like just the like freeze frame that where he's like knife up and then like never mind, you got me.
And so he just had some. So Isis and her little they flashed magic on an Ankh. It flashed a giant light on it for magic, and it set the scroll on fire, and he just dissolves into a skeleton using bad fading.
Yeah, it was just some rough fading there, but I mean the stages of makeup they did there are pretty good, honestly. But yeah, the transitions, they just obviously we were a few decades away from digital morphing, so
yeah. He's supposed to call her over centuries, and her love will bring her back. And then she doesn't even say anything, so you can't even tell if she's using which accent.
This is it. This is the movie's over. Like, pan down on the mummy, and then boom. That's it. That's the movie.
The end. So brief. So short.
Yeah.
And the credits don't last very long now, do they?
And then it's a universal picture down there in the corner. It's the end, and it's a universal picture. It's just funny. And then a good cast is worth repeating. The players. They really didn't think of they weren't even like it was the players, not the actors. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're still very much in that era. That era. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think of The Mummy 1932, Brian?
At the risk of repeating myself, I love it, and I probably would never see it again, honestly. But I'm glad for the context. For my kids, I made sure to go back and show them certain things because I said, it's good to understand where we came from on certain things. Showing for my kids, showing them the original Star Wars is like a big deal, especially the original theatrical versions, because look at this. And as somebody who's a purist, when we get to these, I'll talk way more in detail about this, but there are parts of the original, 1977 Star Wars that look kind of janky if you're looking at a completely untouched version of it. But it's like, this is where we started, and you go back even further, and you go back to if you want to watch the modern stunt work of the John Wick series, like go back and watch like Hong Kong stuff, and then go back and watch the Calvary
Jackie
stuff,
Chan.
And then go back and watch Buster Keaton back in the day, on railroad crossings, doing these insane, like it's important to if you love film, if film is something that's more than just the story is cool and it tickles something in what I like about nerdom, or I like about fantasy or whatever. But if you enjoy the craft of film, which I really do, I find the magic behind what makes a movie special, I find that to be worth something. And this is an important link in the chain of when you watch. I'm trying to think of like one of the best modern examples. You know, when you see parts of Endgame, and you see all of these things coming together as far as just the insane levels of visual effects and the pacing and the way that it's the same way. Like if you watch Spider-Verse, which is for an animated film, such an amazing achievement, you should go back and watch Snow White, and you should go back and watch old serials, because you're seeing like where we started and the techniques and how they did it, and seeing the first Toy Story and the first attempts to do. I love all that stuff. So sorry, I'm like rambling, but this movie is something that is this an amazing film? No, it's not. It really isn't. And no disrespect to any of the people involved in it, because I know that their intention was to just make another fun monster film designed to. These literally were just made to give people a reason to go and enjoy hanging out in the theater for an hour and a half with their friends for what, 15, 20 cents or whatever it was back then. And there's nothing wrong with that. They were made to be pulpy. They were made to be, a little bit cheesy, but also like, oh, he's gonna get him. Oh no, he's gonna, like that was just part of it. It was part of culture. It was part of the history of film. And this is, you can find a direct line between some of the things that you and I love the most about modern film back to this, along with several important healthy stops along the way. And so. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy it. I wouldn't even go into like how to fix this, because I think that it's not that kind of a movie. It's not like a movie like, well, if they just did this and this, like, no, they hadn't figured that stuff out yet, and they quite literally couldn't do that and that because of the technology they had and the fact that the cameras were massively heavy, sitting on tripods that could barely move, and they were shooting
some guy cranking it by hand.
Yeah, it was like, understand the time. So I appreciate this movie very much, and it's something that, for the education of film and of the history of film, I think is an important and interesting watch. So there's my rambly answer.
No, I completely agree. And the thing is, the people at the time also very much agreed with you that it wasn't great. It was seen as fairly tame in comparison to the other things coming out. Like, this has less action than Frankenstein. Frankenstein had this terrifying presence of being this like lumbering behemoth that was coming at you slowly, that you couldn't escape, where this guy's just like, I'm moving slowly.
Or I'm squeezing your heart from a distance through a pool.
Those are actually kind of cool moments.
It was cool, but there's still not that.
Moments, I should say.
Yeah, but it's still different than like the monster being in the room with you, kind of a thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And it had varied critical reviews. One of the things about it, it's like it had a modest box office, where others like Dracula and Frankenstein were just smash hits. Almost everybody from old reviews that you can still find, because one of the things about movies like this coming out in 1932 is that a lot of the reviews were published in newspapers and magazines, and thus they ended up being burned or used as insulation and such during the Great Depression. That's one of the reasons why comics, like Action Comics #1, with the first appearance of Superman, is so incredibly valued, is because so many of them were destroyed by being made into insulation in between walls. And so the few that are available have talked about how it's like, he's scary and a good actor, but it's a little slow and you don't believe some of the tension sometimes. And almost everybody brought up how much they loved the opening. He was scary in the wrappings, and the guy who like laughs himself to death and things like that. Just like fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate that beginning is the best part of the movie.
It really is.
And I'm really excited to get to the other Mummy movies. About a year ago, or less than a year ago, but close, I was showing my wife the Mummy movies for the first time.
The first time? She'd never seen them?
She'd never seen him.
Oh wow.
Her parents were weird, and the I was thinking about how many Mummy movies there are, and then I was looking at, not counting like the sequels to this, are actually complete departures. They don't even follow Imhotep. They follow a separate mummy named Karis, and he's mostly just a weapon used by evil priests, and they keep repeating the same story tropes over and over again, and got diminishing returns until they just stopped making them until the 50s Hammer movies. And I forgot where I was going with that, but it wasn't a huge success. It was very much by itself.
Yeah.
And oh wait, I was talking about Mummy Month. We're doing Mummy Month.
Yeah.
And so looking at the Mummy movies and excluding some but picking some others, we've got 5 weeks this October, and we've got 5 Mummy movies. And it was my idea, and I'm sorry, Brian, that we're going to be talking so much about mummies.
I actually don't mind this at all, because one thing I will say, even this, so from here, I mean, this movie's interesting. 99 movies special, and I mean, I'm going to be having a lot of fun with that next week. And then even the rest of those movies, as much as they're objectively not nearly as good, I still find them to be just fun. And
I actually really enjoy talking about the Tom Cruise 2017 Mummy. Yeah. I think there's a lot to discuss there.
And see, that one I did not see, so I'm going to be doing my research, and I'm going to be watching that for the first time. I still have not seen that movie. And so I will be watching that.
It has its ups and downs, and it could have so easily been fixed with some tweaks.
Yeah.
Those stupid people.
Yeah, well, it has one of my most mixed creatives at the helm of that, like of the modern era. It's Alex Kurtzman, right? So he's got some stuff that's great and some stuff that I really don't like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that. So, but in the meantime, let's keep this one short, as this film was, and please join us again next week for The Mummy 1999
or something.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,